Hello and welcome back to Grand Prix World, where we are about to do qualifying for round one of the 1999 season. There's our car rotating on the spot, which hopefully it doesn't do in the race. You can probably tell, I'm not sure, but I am absolutely full of man flu, or bird flu, or Ebola, or something. So I sound like I'm dying. I'll do my best not to die while recording, because obviously that would be really awkward. But it does mean, on the good side, that you'll probably also get the race today and quite a bit of content over the weekend because it's a nice distraction for me between naps and drinking lemony beverages. I saw the comments that were left. I'm sorry, my head's a bit fuzzy. And you were quite right. I'm sorry, I forget your name. I'm all over the place with painkillers and various different medicines. But you pointed out that we should see some improvement in Pedro Diniz, which indeed we did. Those of you who look back at the last video, though, will probably notice the element of randomization that's come into play. And I'll show you another example in a moment. But we see that I believe on the last video he'd gained a point in speed over the season before. And I can't remember, but I think maybe a point's come off here and gone down here, or something's happened. Shinji Nakano has also gained a point, which I know for sure. And he's gained, I think it's in concentration or bad weather. It's one or the other. So he is an improved driver. He is going to serve theoretically as a number 2 driver, but I've put them on equal first status, mainly because that's the only way pay drivers will sign, but also Nakano, although it doesn't appear that way statistically at the moment, is actually a pretty impressive driver, certainly in my previous playthroughs. I have made some changes over how we left things last time. Primarily, I have decided to remove Bridgestone from our first hospitality and bring Castrol along to take advantage of how great our relationship is right now to just bag an easy 2 million. I've got an impression that Playlife or Ferrari or both are just going to tell us to fuck off after we've finished this round. Certainly, I'd be surprised to be offered the possibility of a Works Ferrari deal, but the opportunity to take a step forward is just too big for us not to attempt to reach out to them on this occasion. Same with Playlife. That's 35 million potentially. It could be a bit less because it's us, but that's a lot of money, and there's not really any harm in just testing the water. Normally, I wouldn't reach this way. I wouldn't overreach the team to such an extent, but the fact that neither of these partners has teams it partners with at the moment means our chances are actually improved. Now, what did I mean when I said there was another example of randomization? Let's take a look. It was somewhere on the car. Here. Now you'll see we still have three areas where we only have 1 point in reliability, although if memory serves, these have changed, because I think we previously had only one on technology. And you'll notice we've been completely dicked over here. The game crashed, and obviously I've reloaded it, and it's rerun some of the figures, and this is what we've come out with. So we've come out with a car that is ostensibly worse than we had if we'd just pressed on initially. Bit frustrating, but not terrible. It might even be we have the same number of points just distributed slightly differently, although I'd be very, very surprised, because I'm pretty sure these top 3 bars were full or nearly full. It's okay, it's nothing that we need to necessarily worry about. We still have 80% handling from testing, so we know it's still a good car. It's just that it's certain components aren't quite as shiny as we thought they were. We're also going to have active suspension from the next round, which should produce a performance boost of its own. So I think that covers everything there. Let's take a look at our team leads. Eva Manzoni stays on 2 skill, but that's understandable because she wasn't working last season. Mike Gascoigne stays on 3. Leo Rest stays on 3. And Tim Edwards stays on 3. So none of our guys have actually gained over the previous season. However, what we do see is there's a synergy bonus between Leo Ress and Johnny Herbert. And this is exactly what a lot of other games fail to account for. That, staff will form relationships with certain drivers, and I always think that should be reflected. We're not going to sign Johnny Herbert for the reason that he's probably a bit out of our price range, and in the price bracket that he sits, I think there are many better drivers. The last thing I want to go over before we dive into the qualifying session is, as I say previously, this is a collaborative team effort. I really want to involve you guys in the playthrough as much as possible. So, at any time, for example, you'll see we've got Pedro Diniz and Shinji Nakano signed till 2001. We can fire them. And I'll take executive decisions for the benefit of the playthrough, but I'm always open to running polls and comments down below. I'm not ashamed to fail either. I will quite happily make a decision on your behalf that I know to be suboptimal so that we can learn the nuance of the game together. I'm assuming most of you haven't really played this before. I'm sure, unless you're around my age or older, I think there's probably a good chance that either you haven't encountered it prior to this playthrough, or maybe you actually are a returning player who's owned it in the past. But there's always benefit to widening your scope of learning. So that goes for everything, by the way. It goes for drivers, goes for heads of department, it goes for suppliers. I'm obviously now about to record an episode where we're negotiating with Ferrari. If you guys want to go for Mechachrome and get a partner deal, even if I think it's suboptimal, then I'm quite happy to do it. If you want to go back to Heart Power, then let's do it. Just let me know who you think I should be going for, and we can begin the negotiations. For the benefit of the playthrough, I'm going to make the decisions for the first episode, so we will be talking to Castrol to just... The added benefit of talking to Castrol now is, while we've got a good relationship and we're already working with them, it improves our chances of a multi-year deal. And multi-year deals are exceptionally important because it saves you having to negotiate that contract again next year, which means you have more time to get money from other sources. Okay, I think we need to just set up the cars. It's the start of the season, so we'll split it between them. I'll give them both a point on dealing with hot weather and hope it doesn't rain. They can both have a point on brakes, speed and acceleration, and I'm trying to think about what kind of... It's technically a street circuit, but it doesn't... It's described as a street circuit, Albert Park, but I mean, I've never really considered it to be one. Do I want to point on overtaking? They got by without it last year. I'm going to put more on heat and just hope it's a dry race. I think that's the best way to go about this. As discussed, we're going to run Shinji on the harder compound tyre with Diniz on the soft. He is faster, so actually maybe that should be the other way round. Yeah, let's try it the other way round. Diniz is organically faster, so he should be less impeded by being on the slower tyre. Does that make sense, or am I being stupid? I'm possibly being stupid. Okay, I'm going to leave everything as it is. I'm going to keep a close eye on Sauber because I genuinely think they're going to have leapfrogged us at this point. And I'll stop the video now for a moment to save everything, and then I will see you trackside. Back in a minute. Okay, so we have the number one car, Drivers' World Champion was Michael Schumacher. He's gone to Williams, where he's partnering Damon Hill, and they're running a partner engine deal, I believe, with Ford. Yes, it is. Williams Ford. Then Heinz Harald Frentzen and Rubens Barrichello take numbers 3 and 4 for Ferrari, who are again running partner Ford Power. Jean Alesi and Alexander Wurz are with Jordan. I can't remember who they're running. No, they're running Mugen with us. And David Coulthard and John Newhouse are in the McLarens powered by Ford Works Power. Eddie Irvine and Esteban Tuero take the Benetton seats. They're running Works Mercedes, so watch out for them. Then we have 11th and 12th Pedro Diniz and Shinji Nakano for us, Arrows Mugen Arrows, Mugen Honda. 14 and 15 is Giancarlo Fisichella and Johnny Herbert in the Saubers, which are also on Mercedes Power, but partner, I think. And very, very impressive is that that's an outstanding driver lineup. That actually is a really, really good driver lineup with a good engine. And I know from playing Sauber that they start with they're the best midfield team after Jordan to take a massive leap forward with. They have facilities in place that you can sort of bring online very, very cheaply. Yeah, I'm expecting to be beaten by them, to be honest. Mika Hakkinen and Alberto Marini are in the Prost seats. I forget who Prost are powered by this year, actually. No idea. Stewart is Ricardo Rosset and Andrea Montemini, not the greatest driver lineup, but they are on partner Mercedes Power. Toro Takagi and Juan Pablo Montoya in the Tyrrells. I forget who's powering Tyrrell this year, so we'll go take a look at that after the race. And Mika Salo and Olivier Panis, another really experienced driver lineup in the Minardi Peugeots. I think it's Minardi Peugeot, and they're on Works Power. So, what are my predictions? The benefit of a Works deal is unlikely to come through in the first round. So, yeah, it's hard to see past Williams and Benetton. Yeah, it's hard to say. Williams or Benetton could take it this year, but I think it'll probably. I could see Benetton coming through. I could see it being Benetton, Williams, Sauber. I expect Tyrrell to be the bottom team, Tyrrell or Stewart to be the bottom team. I would expect us to fall back almost guaranteed, actually, this season. I think we'll be going backwards before we go forwards. Prost could be. It's very hard to tell. I'd still stand by the idea that Stewart or Tyrrell are going to be the back of the grid team. Jordan are very hard to read. They have an excellent driver lineup, really, really good, but they go one way or the other. 9 times out of 10 they'll go forward in season 2, but given how well Benetton has put together a package, I find it difficult to believe that Jordan, with a partner Mugen Honda deal, is going to be ahead of the Works Mercedes Benettons. It's a tough one. Okay, it's a very strong wind, 23 degrees, dry. Someone pointed out to me, and they're quite correct, that a warmer track temperature is good for getting your tyres up to temp, but your engine produces greater power at lower temperatures because the air's a little bit thicker. So what we're going to do is we will be trying to be first out on track, and obviously the reason for that is that even though we've taken a step forward in terms of power over last year, we're still going to have a power deficit to the big teams. So yeah, let's do it. I'm going to get Nakano straight out. And Deniz straight behind him. I mean, it's always good to get a banker in anyway, and I realise we will be showing our hand a little bit early here. I'm not sure if I've put these guys out in the right order. Deniz is organically faster, but Nakano is on the faster tyre, and I'm hoping they don't interfere with each other. I mean, technically, this is bad strategy. Ken Tyrrell, historically, would never let his drivers do this. He'd never let them qualify back-to-back like that, because both cars are punished by a yellow flag or an accident. We have a Sauber out on track early. That's interesting. Which driver is that? Oh, don't mess me about. It's Johnny Herbert. Also, we have Ricardo Rosset out on track. So it's strange because the Tyrrells and the Minardi seem to be staying their hand a little bit. I'm about to tell Nakano to put his boot down. Off you go, my old son. Deniz as well. We're good, but we've not picked up any traffic, which is the best thing we could hope for. That Sauber is catching. So, at least it appears to be catching. So, I think it's fair to say that they've definitely taken a step forward. The Stewart appears to be limping around a little bit. So it's very early days, of course, but it seems our early indications could be reasonably accurate. I wouldn't be surprised to see Herbert out-qualify Deniz out of the gate. I really wouldn't. Nakano seems to be opening up a bit of a gap, so that tyre obviously is the faster tyre, over one lap at least. I hope we haven't hampered Deniz too much. Nakano crosses the line on a 1:31.225. Deniz on a 1:31.569, and Johnny Herbert on a 1:32.267. That appears good. That does appear good. However, we shouldn't take it for granted that that gap is there. That said, we could have an aerodynamic advantage that could be helping us. To have a car in Season 2 with such superb starting statistics in terms of, like, we've got 80% of our potential handling here, and the Stewart crosses the line in a 1:35.877. That's a tragic time for them. That's tragic. I wonder if the Mercedes have put out a bad engine. That's the only thing I can think of, because the Saubers have no excuse of being behind us. And as I say, it probably won't stay that way. That's probably just a banker lap. There's no way of knowing if he was pushing or not. There's really no way to know. I'm not going to cut the video. I'm going to try and cover as much of this session as possible since it's so important to us. The race might be a bit in and out, and it depends how well my throat lasts. But the second Sauber's out on track now. We've got Benetton, both McLarens running nose to tail, and the Jordan. Schumacher in the Williams comes in on a 1:31.623. That is a surprise. That is a surprise. That we're currently sitting in positions 1 and 2. We could have actually produced a fantastic car. I'll be honest with you, I can never remember if I've actually seen a car begin with 80% handling. Where the Benettons and the McLarens cross the line onto a fast lap. Ricardo Rosset is out again already, trying to improve his time. He's burning through his laps quite quickly. I mean, it's always hard to know as well because Ricardo Rosset isn't exactly a stellar driver, so it could be the car is better than he's showing. I think his teammate will be the benchmark that we have to really keep an eye on. So what we're waiting for now is the Benettons and the McLarens and that Jordan to cross the line. Also, we've got Fisichella in the Sauber. Once all those cars have crossed the line, I'm going to feel a little bit more comfortable about where we are. The Ferraris have yet to show their hand. But if we are out qualifying the Benettons, certainly at an early stage, it's a positive indicator. I don't think it's unfair to say. Esteban Tuero crosses the line 1:32.198. John Newhouse splits the arrows in the McLaren with David Coulthard a full 3 places down on his teammate. The Jordan puts in a 1:32.980, so we'll wait for this Sauber to cross the line and I'll give you a rundown of what will then be the top 10. Fisichella is behind Johnny Herbert, so as it stands at the moment, we have Shinji Nakano for arrows on a 1:31.225 in first position, John Newhouse in the McLaren 1:31.540 in second, Pedro Diniz in the arrows 1:31.569, Schumacher takes fourth for Williams, Coulthard 5th for McLaren, Tuero 6th for Benetton. The Saubers make up 7th and 8th with Herbert and Fisichella. Alesi in the Jordan takes 9th, and Rosset is 10th with Stewart. I've just seen a notification that the sun has come out and the track temperature is increasing. We're going to send Deniz out again. These cars should be coming in, although we do have a Williams and both Ferraris are out now, actually. That'll be interesting. We've got a Prost out on track as well, number 16. The second Benetton is also on. I think he's coming onto his fast lap. The track is getting busy. Busy. Let's get Nakano out again. There's going to be a gap, so make the most of it. No change in the standings so far that I've seen, but let's wait for Rosset to come round again. That deficit for Rosset is massive. Okay, that Williams needs to get out of Deniz's way, please. Okay, Frenson puts it 10th, Ferrari. That partner Ford deal is really screwing them up. Barrichello 12th. Good God. Not a good season for Ferrari, potentially. It's time for Shinji to kick it into high gear. I tell you what, this is really interesting. I didn't expect us to feel the benefit the way we are of this car's aerodynamics. Considering we have no factory upgrades, this has been a fantastic start. Deniz fails to improve. I'm not actually surprised with the temperature going up. I've got a feeling, woohoo, that we got the maximum power that was available from our engine by going out when we did. Have the Prosts put in a fast lap? Yeah, they have. Hakkinen and Marini take 15th and 16th. Wow. So it's the Minardis and the Tyrrells yet to show their hand. I wonder what's going on with them. And Nakano fails to improve. We might have hit our peak. So what this can indicate, and I will put them out on fresh boots later in the session, but what this could indicate is that we might see other cars perform better as the track heats. Also, all cars are going to get a performance improvement as more rubber is laid down. So we really, given how strong our position is at the moment, we want to be holding off to the last possible moment. We really don't want to be doing anything suboptimal. I would be beyond astonished as a Tyrrell comes out of the garage for the first time. This will be interesting. And I don't know what power Tyrrell is running. Hopefully something good to mix things up a bit, because right now it seems realistically only the Williams and McLarens are able to touch us. Which is good news, don't get me wrong, it's good news, I'm very happy about it, but I kind of hope to have a bit more of a story to build up to winning. I don't want to take this for granted, of course, but there's absolutely no reason why in Season 2, with the package we've got and the drivers we've got, we should have made a car capable of doing this. But again, a lot of it is out of our hands, a lot of it is down to poor decisions by other teams. Maybe they split their focus. It can be that teams were fighting over, oh dear, one of the Williams loses it then, Schumacher. That's his lap ruined. I don't know if you saw that in the top left. You can always back the video up a few seconds, but he came out of, would have been turn 3 or 4, completely sideways, and then sort of collected it. Yeah, I mean, maybe this has fallen into our lap a little bit, but yeah, I'm keen to see now. I don't know if the Ferrari's on a fast lap. I don't think he is. Sorry, not Ferrari, Williams. I'm actually most watching that Tyrrell. I'd love to see Tyrrell take a leap ahead of the Stewarts and Prosts. I mean, I've got a lot of love for both Stewart and Prost, but Tyrrell is Tyrrell. The Minardis seem to be very confident that they don't need a banker lap. Teranosuke Takagi qualifies 14th ahead of Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari, both Prosts and a Stewart. He's put in a 1:33.004, so he's just stroking the tail end of the 1:32s. So far, only the top 5 cars have broken the 1:31s, and Shinji Nakano is a full 3/10 on the soft compound tyre ahead of the McLaren. That's a hell of a gap. What we've learnt It's certainly at this track we should have had both cars on the soft tyres. But even on the hard tyre, I mean, actually, I could see Deniz winning this race if qualifying stays the way it is, because the deficit there is 3/10 a lap. If we say you lose, let's call it 40-45 seconds on a pit stop, probably, I don't know, it could be right. It depends, because you've got time on the pit limiter, and obviously you deviate from the racetrack. I just don't know. Of course, the game crashed. So what I've done is I've rerun qualifying off screen. So this is probably not necessarily representative of the reality, but I didn't want to tweak anything, so I kept Deniz on the hard tyre, and I just let the simulation handle qualifying. I imagine that's a mistake, and we probably could have held on to some higher places, but as it's the race performance that I actually care about. So let's take a look. Coulthard puts it on pole on a 1:30.376 in the McLaren Ford, ahead of his teammate by 1/10, John Newhouse. The Ferraris went from being 14th, 15th up to 3rd and 4th, which is arguably believable. Usually the first lap could just be a slow and easy banker. We take 5th and 6th. Deniz ahead of Nakano, inexplicably. Esteban Tuero takes 7th, ahead of Michael Schumacher in the Williams. Eddie Irvine in the Benetton takes 9th. Alexander Wurz in the Jordan takes 10th. Damon Hill in the Williams takes 11th. The Saubers of Herbert and Fisichella take 12th and 13th, and they're in the 131s. Jean Lacey in the Jordan takes 14th, 131.643. The Tyrrells have leapt over the Prosts and the Stewarts, with the Minardis coming up the back end. I don't believe the Tyrrells were capable of that time. Honestly, I don't know what's happened in this version of the simulation. Maybe there was rain, maybe there was something, because I wasn't there to actually witness it. So, yeah, not cool. Really, really sorry about that. Unfortunately, the game is so unstable that it can happen, and I could go back and record that for you again from the start, but I feel like that's it's a bit crap. I have to pretend to be enthusiastic about things again, and I think that comes across when it's not a genuine reaction. And really, I set aside so much time for recording this today. I want to do as many as I possibly can, and I don't really want to be held up re-recording qualifying again and again. So we'll press forward and upwards and onwards and so on and so forth. I hope you've enjoyed qualifying, or what you saw of it. I think it's a very good indicator for the future. I'm going to cut the video here, and then I will see you for the race. Take care.